I get ready here, I want to take a moment out and thank Roger for the introduction. Thank you for the invitation to come back up here. I was here back when Barbara was part of the Rotary Club, and she invited me, well, she twisted my arm to come up and talk. And so we talked about the progress we'd made at Simpson at the time. And it's fun to be back. Yeah, Barbara was the safety director for Simpson, and I've known her for, I won't say how long, because that'll date me. But, you know, she's not as good as you think she is, because, you know, she used to be a running partner of mine when we were back in the marathon training days. And anytime you got in front of her, she was a fast runner, she was a sprinter, but anytime the wind came up, this woman would start to run backwards. She'd run fast as long as there was no wind. And if you ever caught up to her and got in front of you, she'd stick that leg out and down and go. So I want to talk about my real fun memories. I'm here to talk about the Port of Tacoma, my favorite subject of my current career. You all know an awful lot about the Port of Tacoma. Oops, okay, I gotta do this again, okay. Okay, that's not going down. So which is what? Okay, you all know an awful lot already about the Port of Tacoma and the kind of businesses we have. You know, we have container business, we have automobiles, we have break bulk. The important thing to know about the port is we do want to diversify, but the container business, being a business guy, is where the margin is. Some of the other business I call, this is side of the hobby, but the container business is a very good business, and to build out a port, you have to have cash to build out a port. And I always like to start my presentations with a conclusion. The Port of Tacoma is a great port. It's the best port on the West Coast. We have a very, very bright future. We have the only port on the West Coast that's capable of growing. Our biggest issue is to sit back and wait for the best business opportunity, because when you sign a contract for 25, 30 years, you are stuck for 25, 30 years. So you don't want to get too impatient and do the wrong thing. This slide shows the traditional routes that the Port of Tacoma has always used for its container business. And see if I can do this magic thing. You see the Southeast Asia, Japan, China route comes across the Tacoma, then into the Chicago Valley and the East Coast. That's what we're all very, very familiar with over the past many, many years. But over the past few years, things have changed. And this slide will show you the competitive nature the port is currently in. You need to realize that 80% of the population of the United States lives within 200 miles of the East Coast. And you have routes that go down here to LA and Long Beach. That's a very traditional route. But the problem is you have a huge population density down there that forces the containers to go there. They have to go there. Very little of the stuff that goes to the LA Long Beach ports leaves California. It all stays there. When you come to the Port of Tacoma, right now 50% of it comes in, stays here in the Northwest. The rest of it goes back east. When the market was good, back in 2006, 2005, 2007 era, only 30% of the stuff stayed in the Northwest. It all went back to the East Coast. So you have to have a connect. We're an optional port. We're a discretionary port. So we have to have good rail connections going east. And so that's that situation. So in the last few years, the Port of Vancouver has grown up, and they've developed Prince Rupert, and that's not really a big deal. But the problem is the government's got involved, and they made a joint working agreement with the Canadian Rail, so they get exceptionally good rail rates going to Chicago, and they don't have a harbor tax to pay either. And we talk about relationships an awful lot. Relationships only count when the price is right. So at the end of the day, the accountants always win the battle. You have to have the right price, because what they want to do is be able to deliver over here and make money at the same time. So that's an issue that we have to contend with. The other issue that is brand new is the Panama Canal route up to the East Coast. That's supposed to open up in 2014, and the rumor is it's going to have a 4-year payback, and I can't really know how many billions of dollars they spent doing that. But the Panamans are doing a great job also. They're raising the price every time they get a chance, so we hope they continue to raise the price. But that route is not a pure route because it has certain issues. What this does allow them to do when they go this route, that allows them to keep that cargo on that ship all the way to the East Coast. They're not passing that potential margin off onto railroads and trucks. So that's an opportunity. The other thing it has, though, is to take a large ship. They enjoy slow steaming because if they crank back on the throttle of the ship, they save huge amounts of money on the fuel that drives the ship. So that's a much longer route. So the issue we have to consider there is, if I'm going to take longer to get there, I'm going to run slow because I have to save fuel. To meet my schedules, I have to bring other ships online. And there's a huge capacity of ships these days. It's like the old paper business, but it's a race to the bottom. But as long as they have the capacity, it all depends on how it hits their books. So each carrier that's going to go that route is going to have a different decision to make from a financial standpoint, and they'll definitely make a financial decision. The other thing to keep in mind is we're very worried about this. It always pays to be worried about your competition. But the nice thing about the East Coast ports, very few of those ports back there have the 50-foot depth. So the ships can't go there. So what they do is they take our harbor tax money that we pay, and we have a natural deep water port. They take that money back to our competitors and they start to dig those terminals out. And that's what some of those ports are in the process of doing, is dredging their terminals so they can take the big ships. The big problem with that is, if I'm going to spend $500 million digging out a terminal, digging out a port, well, how do I get that paid back? How do I return that investment? Because as the bigger ships come in, the volume of shipping doesn't have to increase at all, because the market determines how much volume you're going to send. So all you can do is maybe get, instead of getting 3 ships, or 5, say 5 ships a month, you might just get 2 big ships a month. So with that, if that happens, how do you pay off that investment? So it's a big deal as we go forward. The other thing to keep in mind, as manufacturing goes down to Vietnam and those kind of places, as they can't consume that manufacturing, that may put the Suez Canal in place, because it's a very short trip from India and Pakistan and Vietnam across through the Suez Canal to that East Coast. Always something we have to concern ourselves with. So the issue over the last several months is, how are we going to compete with that competition? And what we did is we developed a plan for 2012 to 2022, which we announced at yesterday's Ports Customer Breakfast. And I know we haven't got too much time. These are the 6 goals we came out of that plan. We're going to work on a competitive position from a financial standpoint, because we do have to have money in order to invest in the port. We're going to improve the port's financial performance. We're going to work on infrastructure, because that's key if we're going to get stuff competitively to the East Coast. And we're going to work on organizational capabilities, environmental stewardship, and the community, because the community is a very big part of the Port of Tacoma. So what does that all mean? In this last slide, I'm going to try to draw a picture about what that whole thing means for us. We're going to start by taking very good care of our customers. Customer service is everything. I learned that years and years ago. I used to deal with farmers, and if the box didn't print right, how long would they stay mad? Oh, about a lifetime. They'd stay mad forever. Even if the price got better, they'd still stay mad and go somewhere else. So it's important not to fail. Most people get new business because the other person failed. And so we're going to take very good care of our customers and our community. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to strategically invest money. And we're not going to just use our money. We're going to go after businesses that are willing to invest their money, so they can't pack up their bags and leave right away or hold us captive in bad times. So we're going to invest in terminals, roads, and industrial projects. A couple of things I want to talk about. This waterway, these terminals right here are very old terminals, and one of the things we're going to do is we're going to invest money and we're going to modernize those terminals so they can compete with the largest ships and the fastest, most efficient way of handling cargo. That's going to take a substantial amount of money, but we have the money to do that. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to have to expand rail capacity within this terminal. The Maytown thing didn't work out, and it probably shouldn't have worked out for a lot of reasons, but we have to have that capacity here. Trains are 1.5 miles long now. So how do you store a 1.5 mile train here? Because By going on dock rail, the container comes off the ship, onto the rail, and then takes off. It doesn't hit a truck. So that minimizes part of the logistics when it comes to building roads and stuff. The other thing we want to do is we're talking to, as you saw in the paper this morning, we're talking to a dry bulk a business partner. One of our goals is to come down and develop this hunk of property down here for a dry bulk. It means we're going to ship potash, we can ship iron ore, we're not going to ship coal, we're going to ship all those other type of things. The nice thing about that business is we'll put about $10 million into it because we have to put the rail connection in, and they'll put 150 million in. And other nice thing is then the railroad will come back out because they have the business. They'll give us another rail trestle across the Puyallup River Bridge. And that is really excellent because if one rail bridge went out, we'd be in a world of hurt real quick like. So it gives us a backup capacity. And that's the nice thing. We're going to use their money. We're going to have a Class A type operation, and they're captive. It's a niche business that's captive to Tacoma, which I think is just absolutely tremendous. One of the other things we've changed our philosophy since the major recession that we seem to be currently still in. The old style was we wanted to build a terminal. We were the bankers. We'd go out and build a terminal and say, pretty please come use my terminal. So you get a terminal like Hyundai or Washington United terminal. They'd sign a 25-year lease for that terminal, and you'd get your money back within 25 years. They didn't have any money into it, they just signed the lease. So what happened is you'd get one ship a week. So you have $300 million tied up in a terminal for one ship a week. So what we really want to do is we want to fully utilize these terminals. So you saw the last deal we made with Washington United Terminals. We helped them broker a partnership agreement with the Grand Alliance, where they came in as a partner and they split the cost of that terminal. So we brought another 400,000 containers to Tacoma by helping a partner by helping a customer get a partner to that operation. For us, that makes great sense, because what it does in trying times, it makes a much stronger customer. We want a financially strong customer because they have a tendency to pay their bills better. So what they do is they split the cost of the rent down there, and we pick it up by listening. We break even on this whole deal because what happened here, the volume will substantially increase. So we get 2 or 3 ships a week instead of 1 ship a week, and we pick up those little things. So, and when the Grand Alliance comes in July, they bring on an annualized basis. Right now, they're running 400,000 containers. It's 1.6 hours work per container. Why do I know that? Because I am one of those detail freaks. So that's 237 jobs. That's longshore jobs. That's quite high. And all you did was help a customer get over your past, because all it takes to manage the shipping lines and the ships is a very tough logistics manager. And you can handle those problems. And you can save yourself a tremendous amount of money. And you create an awful lot of jobs, and you really solidify the port. So I'm going to give you a couple of targets as we talk about all these things. And we're going to continue to do that, full utilization of our terminals. Why build a new terminal if you're not going to fully utilize the terminal? It's not a good investment. Our major targets for the next 10 years is we want to increase our containers from last year's 1.6 million to 3 million containers a year. This year, I think we're going to top out about 1.7 million containers. And so by the next year, we should break 2 million containers, so we're not that far from getting to 3 million containers. The dry bulk, we want to have dry bulk for about 12 million metric tons a year, and that's this volume back here. You know, we ship an awful lot of grain. We want to increase that capacity also. And as we do all these things, we're going to talk again about my background. You want to have a very sustainable port. And so we're going to improve our financial performance. We're going to improve our operating margins by 30%. That's fine. That's before you handle the debt. That's up here where nobody really looks. We're going to increase our net income, that's the bottom line, by 50%. And my favorite word is return on assets for the bankers in the room. we're going to improve our return on assets by 35%. All the while, we're going to pay down our debt. So we have a situation where over the next 10 years, we're going to spend we have the capacity to spend $550 million, not borrow a dime, pay down our debt, and substantially improve our financial performance. Because of the 2,500 acres that we have down here, a large, substantial amount of that is not developed yet. And that'll give us the cash to go in and do that without borrowing money. That puts a whole different look on the tax situation as we go forward, because I think you always make a better decision when you haven't got tax money to talk about it. You always talk about the Port of Tacoma versus the Port of Seattle. I always like to throw this out. Last year we made a little over $37 million. We had to write off 8.7 because we had a bad paving job down in one of the terminals, so we wrote that off, and we made about $22 million bottom line. Of that, $13 million was tax. The Port of Seattle made about $23 million last year. Of that, they taxed $75 million. So for those who are really quick at math, it sounds to me like they're $50 million upside down. Tacoma is a working town. It's very good at running businesses, and I think we need to find a way to keep it that way. And if we get this all done, and I know we'll get this all done because this is a very conservative outlook for the next 10 years. This is an outlook for having the market stay just like it is right now. And I think that's how you put a business plan together. We have much higher hopes than what I'm talking about. What this results in is 4,700 port direct related jobs, longshore truckers. It relates in another 2,000 port indirect type jobs, which are around our areas, don't touch the port. So total, we got about 7,000 jobs that are going to be impacted by, created by this little development we got going. And it's going to happen fairly fast, in my opinion. And to go about our introduction early this morning, one of our first things, the Commission's primary job is to go ahead and hire a CEO. And we made a lot of changes during my first term, and we went out and we found John Wolf. John Wolf is an absolute first-rate CEO and doing an excellent job. He's very approachable. You feel free to talk to him. And he's only got one thing in mind, and that's to improve the Port of Tacoma. And he has a first-class staff to get that job done. So we will get that job done. And so I just want to kind of close by saying we do have a great port. We do have a tremendous potential to do great things, and we will do great things, and I think we can lead ourselves out of this current recession. So thank you very much for your invitation, and I hope I'm on time. At close.